Mercedes here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys what I keep in my teacher binder. Let's get started. So I have this black binder, and the cover is from Miss Jacob's Little Learners, and they're just neutral black and white. So I carry this with me all the time, and anytime I need to plan lessons or look through curriculum, I go to this binder first because it has everything that I need and it is standard based. I've gone many years with teacher binders that have things that are pretty much not useful to me, but I thought that I would need it. So this has been refined for the last 7 years, and this is what I keep, what are my must-haves, and I will link everything down below. So the first thing that I have here, I have a little one pager on the Danielson Framework, which is what we use here in New York City for teacher assessments and observations. So when a principal comes into my classroom, they come in looking for these qualities, and they're broken down into 4 domains. And if you want to talk more about this, I will. But essentially, the principals are looking for planning and preparation or evidence of that, classroom environment, professional responsibilities and instruction, and teachers are essentially assessed using this criteria. So in the beginning of the school year, teachers, at least in New York City, get to pick one of these to focus on, and I usually tend to focus my goals on domain 3, which is instruction. Okay, so I have that there. Then I have this divider that says pacing maps. So I put all my pacing maps on, what I'm teaching from the first day of school to the last day of school. And this is a coherent pacing map for ELA or reading and writing. Then I have one for math. So this is the order in which I'm teaching. Here is for science and social studies, and we call it visionary hour in my school. This is for the amplified science pacing. So this is the curriculum that we use, and using this information, we make our own in my school. This is like a breakdown, a progression of all the grades from amplified science. And then this is the pacing for social studies. We use Passport to social studies here in New York City. So I have that paced out. Then my next tab is the assessments and data, and in here I keep the running record. So students usually get a level in which they are reading at. So by the end of 4th grade, students will be reading level S or above books, and usually we assess them 2 to 3 times a year so that they can make progress. So usually my students come in at a level P, and then they move up to a level S or above. Sometimes students come below those levels, so it's good to see the progression from kindergarten through 8th grade. So these are more like manuals for how to actually do running records, which text you use. We also use the spelling inventory. I love the spelling inventory. It's one of my favorite assessments. So if you want me to talk a little bit more about that, I make small groups and word study stations or centers based on this. So if you want me to talk more about it, please let me know. Then over here on this side, I have my ELA standards. Everything I do is standards based. So I may use a curriculum just to get some information or get some activities or anchor charts from the curriculum, but at the end of the day, it's all based on standards for me. So I actually created this one pager for the next generation standards, which is what we use here in New York City, and it has all the standards listed here on one page, because sometimes it's a good reference to just have these on one page and see, okay, well, I want to talk about, or I want to work with narrative writing. These are the standards that I'm focusing on. Or I want to make a lesson or develop a lesson based on theme. Okay, I'm going to go right here. It's R2. If you want, I have these for $1. All my teachers pay teachers. Then this I really like. It's the next generation standards at a glance. So I use this a lot for progression work. So my school is a mastery based school. So we have, instead of level 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, or you got 90% or 80% in the class, we have mastery levels. So we have not yet, approaching, meeting, or mastery with excellence. So it's good for me to make a progression. So if I want students to be at a meeting and a 4th grade level, because that's appropriate for my grade, the exceeding level, which would be equivalent to a level 4 per se, would be 5th grade level work, and the approaching and not yet might be 3rd or 2nd grade work. So it's good to see what they come with, and I like to build up on these 3rd grade standards, support them in the beginning of the year so that they could have some prereqs and skills that are needed for 4th grade. And then the students that are ready for a challenge, I push them into some of the 5th grade standards. One thing you'll notice if you look across 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the next generation standards, and actually in any standard pretty much, they're pretty much the same. There's a couple things that are different, and this is why I like to know the standards really well from the top of my brain, because for example, I could tell you right now that when it comes to, let's just say, this 4R3 in 3rd grade, they need to describe character settings and events. In 5th grade, they have to do that, but they have to compare and contrast 2 or more character settings or events. And in 3rd grade, they have to describe them based on traits, motivations, and feelings. In 4th grade, they don't have to do that. They just have to draw from details, which could be character traits, motivations, and feelings, but as you can see, it gets more complex throughout the grade. So it's important to know that, because you know what students are coming with, so you can begin the year with character traits and then move them forward to describing characters and then comparing characters. I hope that makes sense. I love standards. I think they're amazing, and it's really awesome. It feels great and empowers me to know the standards off the top of my brain. It doesn't mean you have to, but I love it. And if you don't, it's okay, because I first started with making things like this so I can remember them. So I'm just a big fan. So I have all the next generation standards for reading, writing, language, and listening and speaking, which I teach all of them throughout the year. And then I have this, which is something that I don't use as often, but I think it's important, and I think it's a great tool for new teachers, because it gives you the learning targets and vocabulary questions and possible ways to assess for certain standards. I believe these standards are, yes, these are the Common Core standards, so that's why I haven't used them as much yet, but I like to have some inspiration to draw on, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of resources online that you can just build your knowledge with, and the work has already been done. So it's important that you obviously get to know the standards, but also look at some of the resources that are available for free online. So I'll definitely find these for you guys. So let's just say we go back to that 4-3 standards. It says describe character settings and events. It tells you what our learning targets could be. So it could say students will describe in depth character setting or events. Sorry, that was my cat. And then there's a vocabulary, which is character setting, event, specific detail, questions that you can ask students, and possible ways to assess, which I really like. So I have them for all the standards. This was created by a certain district. And then here I made, with the help of my teacher team, I created a guided reading lesson plan, or like a small skill or strategy based small group plan, in which you write the student's name, the date, their reading level, the strategy that you're working on, the standard that you're working on, and then some of the next steps. It was actually based on the CAFE protocol, which is comprehension, accuracy, fluency, and expanding vocabulary. So that each of these letters have a strategy that students could use to support reading. If you want to learn more about CAFE and what parts I use in my classroom, please leave a comment down below, but I just have that here as a reference. And then I have a menu of all the different strategies that I was talking about. So for, let's just say, fluency, which is really something that my students struggle with, some of the strategies that I can use is, read appropriate grade level texts that are a good fit. So maybe teaching students how to pick just right books, or use a punctuation to enhance phrasing. So if you see an exclamation point, change your voice to match a character, etc. And then I found this alignment, which tells me, based on the strategy that I choose, which standards I am teaching with that. So it helps me fill out the small groups. lesson plan. I actually haven't used this. I made it about 2 years ago. I haven't used it, but if you guys want, I could definitely upload this to my Teachers Pay Teachers. I think it's great for keeping track of your small groups. And then I have 7 steps for assessment to instruction, something always good to think about. Then I have my math section here, which is all about math standards. Once again, I have that 1-pager for the next generation standards, which is what I use. 4th grade math is very complex and abstract, and there's a lot of prereqs that students need, but I love math. I think it makes so much sense, although it's hard to see my students struggle if they don't know like the multiplication. So it's important this year that I focus on math because it has been a struggle for my students in the past. But this is the 1-pager, once again linked down below. And then here is the crosswalk. So they don't have a progression like this for math. I haven't found one yet, although I probably could make it at a glance here. But this one shows you the difference between the Common Core standards and the next generation standards, which is really cool. I'm telling you guys, I love standards. I love to learn them and know them. So I have them all for the 4th grade. And then this year, my passion project was to get to know the 3rd grade standards so that I can build upon the 3rd grade standards in the first month of school. So as you can see, I practiced them and like dissected them and broke them down, decomposed them into parts that could be all tied into a project-based learning unit. So if you guys want me to talk more about that, let me know. And then these are the skills that students need. As you can see, I've pretty much, this is like a brain dump here, but I'm going to review these 3rd grade skills and connect them to 4th grade standards in the beginning of the year through a PBL, project-based learning unit. I'm really excited about it, but these are what students should know in 3rd grade. I have that same document style for 4th grade standards that talk about learning targets, vocabulary, questions, and possible assessments for each standard. And then last but not least, I have a professional development, or PD as we call it here, section. And here are all of my goals for the school year. So basically, I have my mission and vision for my school, and then I have my goals. So last year, my goal was to engage students. Oh, my celebration was to engage students in learning. I feel like I'm really good at that. And then my growth is assessment and instruction. And then I have another Danielson Framework. If you guys would like me to kind of talk you guys through a little bit more about how teachers are assessed and observed and like the observation process, please let me know. I can actually show you some of my observation ratings and how we do it here in New York. That's essentially what I keep in my teacher binder. I hope this is useful to you. Like I said, I'm going to try to put all of the materials and resources that I use in the description below, because this has been so helpful to me when I plan, especially that my school has kind of introduced a different curriculum this year, but it hasn't really changed my practice and my pedagogy. If you guys want me to talk more about anything that I talked about today, I have a lot of different topics that I would love to chat about, but just let me know what you guys think. And like I said, I will link everything down below, and I hope you found this helpful. If you did, let me know what you keep in your teacher binder, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.